All right. Welcome back to another episode of The Fan and Fanatic. We're on episode 31, Greg, of season 3. We are really
We're in the thick of it now.
grinding it out,
I
for
know.
3 seasons. But, this is a special episode. We have a special guest on this one. Hunter's back on the show because UH basketball concluded their season. So, of course, we got to bring in our UH expert to kind of wrap things up on this college basketball season. So, Hunter, welcome back to the show. I think you're officially, if I had to say, in the lead for guest appearances
I think
on
so
this
for sure.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
you
for
have.
having me.
Well, I think you know the drill, man. You're definitely not a stranger to this pod, but let's get right into why you're on the show. Obviously, UH basketball concluded their season this past weekend, falling in the Big West tournament semifinals. Um, Very up and down season, but we'll get into that as we get into the pod. But I want to start maybe with the beginning of the Big West tournament. So more as if when the bracket was revealed, Hunter. So I'll go to you first. When you saw the bracket revealed and you saw that Hawaii had the first round bye, and then they were on the side of the CSUN Santa Barbara winner, and somehow, I don't know how, but CSUN beat Santa Barbara. What were your thoughts when you got that news that CSUN was going to be the matchup for Hawaii?
I thought that was the better matchup for Hawaii, just because historically we don't match up well with Santa Barbara for whatever reason it may be. So when season won, it was kind of a relief. Seeing also that it went to overtime, knowing that they're probably going to be tired, right? They played an extra 5 minutes. That was a hard fought game. So I knew that Hawaii had somewhat of the upper hand. So I felt comfortable. And then, of course, they got that win in the quarterfinals. And then they played UC Davis. But before that, we saw Long Beach State beat number one seed Irvine. And so that was a shocker itself. And, had Hawaii beaten UC Davis, I thought they would have had a great opportunity to beat Long Beach and go back to the dance for the first time since 2016. But unfortunately they fell against UC Davis. I thought that the game was, you know, you can't really win when it's down when you're down by 19, several points, one in the first half, one second half. But I think this bracket that Hawaii drew was in their favor. Starting with with the 3 seed, and they faced the winner of CSUN, Santa Barbara. Then you get UC Davis. You really avoided Irvine all the way until championship game. If that played out. But even better, so Long Beach State won. So I think everything was in Hawaii's odds, but unfortunately couldn't put out the W in the semifinals.
Yeah, Greg, did you think that Hawaii realistically had a shot to go into the tournament and actually go all the way with how I was describing this season, throughout the pod? Like,
I
did
mean,
you think we could
I
do it
okay.
based on
So
the
I
draw?
there's no jinxing it because the season's over now. I didn't want to say it, but I've it, and this is not logical at all. It's more so the kind of age old story of where they've historically had decent regular seasons, strong regular seasons, right? Finish around that third seed as usual, and one and done in the tournament, the Big West tournament. So I didn't want to say it, but I was like, hey, rough start, and they got hot, right, in conference play. So I was like, in my head, I didn't want to say it out loud, but in my head, I'm like, maybe this is like kind of the reverse of what we're used to seeing, where we're expecting them to go on this big run, and we're so disappointed. It felt like going into the tournament this year, we didn't really have as high expectations, even though we were still the 3 seed. You know, it just didn't feel like this team maybe had the confidence level. But I was like, maybe that's just what we need, to less expectations kind of thing. So after they won that first game, I'm like, oh, we got the monkey off our back, right? Got the first game win, And I had high expectations. I thought we could make it all the way after that, but not based on like watching games or play or anything like that. Just kind of the opposite narrative of what they've had in the past couple seasons. So that was my wishful thinking.
I mean, honestly, I kind of fell for the bait after the first one, but you know what? I guess that's how March is, right? But okay, let's take a step back. So let's go to the game itself, the CSUN game to start. I don't know, Hunter, what did you think when you were watching this game? What did you think your biggest takeaway was for Hawaii's win in this game?
No, I think both teams fought hard. I thought Hawaii played well enough to win, right? There wasn't anything too, you know, that's really stood out to me a lot that like, this team is gonna dominate this, season and dominate the next game as well. It was a pretty close game back and forth. We got the seven, I think it was a 7 point win, but it was competitive throughout from tip off to the end of the buzzer. Um, no real takeaways. I thought they need to do what they need to get done to win the game, but nothing too special. Like I mentioned, I think McCoy had a good game. I think McCoy was the leading scorer with 16 points.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed that from him against Davis as well. But yeah, I thought it was just a hard fought game. Nothing too spectacular for that. Nothing that stood out to me the most. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was watching though, I did notice like UH they started pretty slow and then they kind of, found their rhythm a little bit. Maybe it took them a few minutes to kind of get acclimated to, postseason basketball. But I thought
Yeah.
from what I was watching, I thought the bench actually had a pretty significant role. Um, I know Harry, he got injured in that game, right? He hit his head. I don't know if he has a concussion or not, but he didn't really play in the next game, I believe. But he played maybe like 8, 9 minutes, but he had 5 points off the bench pretty quick. I think he had 5 rebounds, a block. So his kind of spark off the bench, and then even Javon and Akira, they kind of filled in Akira stepping up for Harry. So it's nice to see guys coming off the bench providing that spark, that lift, because that's something that Hawaii has really lacked this season. It's barely been, two starters, maybe McCoy or Coleman, they go off and go crazy, and then you just kind of ride the hot hand. But, in this game, like you mentioned, McCoy, 16 points, not a crazy scoring outburst and really not a crazy game from the field, actually. I think he was 4 for 13. So really, I would say a balanced overall attack from Hawaii in this game. I don't know. Did you see anything different, Greg? Am I missing anything about the bench?
No, I thought, like you said, guys stepped up when Harry went down, and I just was a little bit shocked. I don't know if UH typically shoots the three that well, but
They're hit or
10,
miss.
yes, 10 of 24, you better win when you're shooting at that clip, right? Especially against CSUN. So yeah, I thought kind of what Hunter said. Um, just took care of business, did what they had to do, and yeah, it was kind of just all right. We survived. On to the next.
All right. Well, I mean, they are the 3 seed, and I was just hoping, they are the better team. They got lucky with the draw getting CSUN, because I don't know if Santa Barbara would have been a good matchup for them, but they get the break, they get the win, they move on, and then they get to play the 2 seed UC Davis, and they have the Big West Player of the Year, Elijah Pepper, T.Y. Johnson, another explosive guard in the backcourt. So a pretty difficult matchup, I would say, but I would think Hawaii would feel more confident against them on paper versus, like you said, Hunter Irvine. But let's talk about this game. A very heartbreaking, I guess you could say, finish to this game. 68-65 final for Hawaii. But why don't we talk about the beginning of the game? Because I thought it was going to be like a 25-point loss. Like, did you guys lose faith? Because I definitely lost faith at one point when I think they were on like a 22-6 run to start the game. I was like, oh, this is over.
Yeah, that was definitely hard to watch and listen to. Like going down 22, like you mentioned, 22 to 6 in the semifinal game. that's a lot of pressure already added onto you. You just dug yourself in a deep hole. And against a team with like UC Davis, right? They had a pretty good season and they have veteran players in Elijah Pepper. It's really difficult to come back and get yourself out of that hole. But somehow, some way, they clawed their way in it. At halftime, right, they're down by only 2 points, but
Mm-hmm.
then they fall back in another hole again, down by 15 to 19 points. It just can't happen. And these slow starts or lack of scoring really put themselves in a bad position where they couldn't just catch up at the end. But had they started off stronger, being more consistent with offensively, defensively as well, who knows? Hawaii could have been playing on Saturday for the championship game. So I mean, a lot of it, give credit to UC Davis, for coming out to play from the start and making adjustments at halftime, really, to kind of shut UH out in the first 5-10 minutes. But yeah, it is what it is, and we're looking forward to next season already.
Well, we hear those words every single year at UH basketball. We're looking forward to next season. But I don't know, Greg. Let's kind of go to the end of the game. Like, what did you think was the key? Where, like Hunter mentioned, we fall behind early, come back in the first half, then we fall behind again, and then we somehow claw our way back, give ourselves a chance late in the game. What was your key takeaway about how Hawaii came back in that game?
Yeah, I think free throws definitely helped them out a lot. They did a really good job of getting to the line. I mean, just looking at the stats, right? 21 of 23, only Bernardo, I mean, he only missed
Shocking.
two free throws, which is you'll take that, I think, any day.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, yeah, getting to the foul line. And again, I mean, they only took 15 threes, but they made six of them. So they shot, 40% from three again. I just thought that kind of helped fuel their second half comeback and just played a little bit better defense. I felt like in that stretch where they came back in the second half because I mean, I almost left. So I was like watching it in a restaurant. I almost left and I was like, forget it. Like, I'm just going to go home. But I think it was after Jacobs hit his three and I think it cut it to 12. And I was like, okay, less than 9 minutes left. We got some time. I have faith. And yeah, sure enough, they were able to claw back into the game, hit some free throws, and just heartbreaking because it really was right there. And now looking back, it's even harder, right? Knowing that Irvine got knocked off and they had a chance it would have been against Long Beach State. So, I mean, definitely, I would think a winnable game there for UH. So, just an unfortunate way to end the season. And I mean, we can talk about that last play, Matt, if you wanted to, or that last
Oh yeah,
stretch.
that's the next point
But
already. So you're transitioning right into it.
yeah, so I mean, go ahead because even with about a minute to go, I thought, nah, it's too much because we're down four, a minute to go. Shot clock is what 30, I believe, in college, right? So I'm like,
Right.
just counting the possessions, we're gonna need a miracle turnover or them to miss free throws for us to get back into it. And they almost pulled it off. The whole like restaurant kind of stopped and was watching the game towards the end. But yeah, just unfortunate. But you take us through it, man.
Yeah. So I thought like, during that stretch where they kind of just clawed their way back, right? They turned the ball over. UC Davis got sloppy with the basketball. And then when I really was like, oh my gosh, they actually have a chance was when Javon actually made that and one bucket. I was like, oh, they're actually they got a shot. And then he makes the free throw, they cut it down, they turn it over again, and then that last possession, right? The scramble, Coleman ends up with the ball down one with a chance to win. And then, we kind of know the rest of that story there. But Hunter, I know you must have been. I was gonna FaceTime you, but I was like, I don't know if that would be a good thing or not. But take me through what was going through your head on that scramble when Coleman ends up with the ball with a chance to win the game.
Man, I don't know. Just kind of put together what happened, right? Somehow Hawaii forced three turnovers the last four possessions for Davis. Two of them being inbound passes, and like you mentioned, Jovan with the and one, and then he made the free throw. And then that last possession, right? We had that chance. We held it for I think it's the last 12 seconds. We held it on for the last shot to win it, right? We are down by one. And I mean, I thought, we could have gotten the ball off to someone else, like Coleman, McCoy, Munoz, whoever it may be. But I wasn't completely torn that McConaughey took that last shot. The way he took his last shot, he was open, and that's
Mhm.
the kind of shot that he takes, right? He normally makes those, but it just didn't fall. But you know, in those kind of situations, no timeouts. You gotta go with what you have, and in the moment, I guess that's what they did. So it's really hard for I guess Iran to really drop a play. Um, but yeah, I mean, to even get to that point was kind of a miracle itself. It was pretty
Right.
crazy, just kind of going off with Craig at home, just yelling, and with Les, we just going
Oh my
crazy.
God. You guys must have been just screaming. Because I mean, I was watching with Sky and we were screaming at Coleman. Like, he was just dribbling the ball. I thought this is where Hawaii, the one area they messed up. It wasn't Javon taking the last shot. Like with you, I was okay with it. I just wasn't okay with Coleman just dribbling out 12 seconds. It's like,
Down one,
we're
you
down
gotta get
one.
the shot up. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and it's like you gotta think realistically, like, okay, if I miss, at least if I shoot it with 7, 6 seconds, if I missed, I foul, I still have a chance, one more chance, for a two or a three, last second shot. Maybe something happens crazy, but we'll never know, right? Because they took the clock all the way down to 3 2 seconds. So that's the only area I thought Hawaii really mismanaged. I guess Greg, you're thinking all three of us are on the same page here with the shot clock mismanagement.
That was the thing that I was like screaming at the bar that I was watching it. I was like, "Go! Why are we just standing around? Like, let's go!" Yeah, completely different situation if you're down one, obviously, versus a tied game. Tied game, yeah, we're holding on to the ball for the last
Mm-hmm.
shot no matter what. But down one, that I'm pretty sure that's like standard basketball fundamentals. It's you try to get a shot up, like you said, offensive rebound can happen. Crazy stuff can happen in the scramble, or like you said, worst case, if UC Davis does get the ball, we foul. Even if they hit both free throws, we still have a chance to tie, right? So it's just the classic late game execution that I feel like should have been communicated through the team, but it is what it is at this point. I will still live with the shot, kind of with what Hunter said. I'll live with the shot because Javon up and down, but we all remember what he did last year, and it wasn't a contested step back three or anything. Like
He was open.
he got himself open from mid range, good look. That's really all you can ask for, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, the yeah our I guess our Cinderella run as a 3 seed kind of ended, but yeah, tough to see.
Yeah, it was tough. Oh, I will say this before we get off this UC Davis game. Would you guys prefer somebody else than Javon taking that last shot in a perfect scenario? Because I have my answer. I want to hear what you guys say. If you guys had a pick, who would take the last shot on this team? Hunter, why don't you go first? Or were you okay with Javon taking the last shot?
If anything, probably Coleman. I would rather have Coleman, shoot the last shot. He had a buzzer beater last year, right? In the tournament to force overtime against Fullerton. So he has those clutch genes. I mean, I understand McClanahan last year also had that buzzer beater. Well, he's known for buzzer beaters, right? Even had one this year for halftime. So, but if I had to choose one, yeah, I think it'd be Coleman. No, Noel.
Yeah, that would have been my answer. I think he's the best offensive player on this team, talent wise, him and McCoy. But in that situation, I want it in my best guard's hands. So Coleman was a little too passive. That's my taking, but it is what it is at this point. We got to move on to next year, and with that, we got to talk about the head coach of the team because he's always a topic on this show, especially with the two of us. I should say three of us because I can't stop talking about Ganot every week. Greg knows on this show, but I guess for this question here, the three of us, we talked earlier with the preseason or our preseason expectations. Is this Ganot's year? Like, if he doesn't achieve, like, is he going to be gone next year? Hunter, do you think Ganot saved his job for at least another year because of this tournament or his one tournament victory this year?
Probably. He probably saved his job for another year or two. I mean, I don't think the university has the funding to buy him out of his contract. I think he has a couple years left. But I guess having that win kind of solidified him to come back for next year. So, I mean, as bad as it sounds, yes, he'll be back. If there is ever a time to fire him, right, or to release him, it would have been this year because we're losing so much starters, right? We're losing 6 seniors, probably the most reduction that he's lost since the 2016 tournament team. So they're starting off from scratch. But I mean, I guess that would have been the perfect scenario to find a new coach, right? We're starting from the scratch and then just building the foundation again. But yep, he'll be back next year. And like he said, he has a lot of work to do. We need to find transfer portal people. We need to develop the current players that we have now. It's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, well, let's go on that note then. At least for next season, like you mentioned, 6 seniors this year. Basically, all your offense is gone. You have one returning starter, Ryan Rapp. Like, what are we doing next year? Like, do you have any insight for us? Like, are we bringing in any, secret recruit that we're going to be excited about? Or are we literally going to roll out Cody Williams, Tom Beatty, the guys that we have on the team just elevated into the starting lineup?
No, I definitely think Ganot needs to find a transfer, either a D1 or, a JUCO that can play immediately, someone from the JUCO ranks. We can't roll with the people that we have right now just based off them, right? We know that Tom Beatty, Morsek, and Akira Jacobs and Ryan Rapp, they all showed promising signs this year or this season, as well as Cody Williams, right? So there's things that we can build off of. But as far as the leadership or the seniority, the experienced people, we need to bring those Division I players in who has those minutes and experience at this level that can really help push these younger players to their max potential, essentially. So we need to find people right away from the portal. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should hire Gib Arnold to be a recruiter for this team. He would thrive in the NIL era.
He's a great recruiter.
He can hand out iPads like nothing now. Oh gosh, but yeah. Okay, a couple more things about UH basketball. But for this season, to officially put it in a close, Hunter, why don't we talk about some end of the season team awards in your opinion? So as far as a team MVP, do you have one guy that stood out this year for you?
I would say either Noel or McCoy. I would go with one of those two.
McCoy.
Yeah. So I say Noel because he led the team in points this year with 13.6. He broke or he surpassed the 1,000 point mark for the university. I think he was 17th player, and then Bernardo also passed that 1,000 point mark with UH as well. But I thought Noel had a better season this year than last year, just because he was more consistent, right? I know there was times last year where there was lapses of scoring, non-scoring, whatever it was. He just wasn't in the right mindset for like a stretch. or a long stretch of the season. But this year he was much more consistent. And it kind of showed. And then for Justin really was like a late bloomer. He started off the season really slow, and then the second half with Big West season coming to play, he really turned it on. So, you know, too bad we won't get him next year. Maybe there might be a chance. Who knows? Um,
Really?
I think sources say that he's gonna try to get some kind of exemption for one more year, but we'll see. It's highly unlikely, but there may be a chance. And if there's a slight chance that he comes back, that would be awesome. Because I think he would be really in the running for like Big West Player of the Year kind of thing.
I think so. All right. Yeah, definitely McCoy was a good one. I'm surprised you didn't say Bernardo. I would have personally said Bernardo. I thought he had a pretty good year, especially with more set going down. So he really had to anchor the paint. And for the most part, he held his own. So I think that was huge for him. But anyway, who is, I guess, your biggest disappointment? Or who did you want to see for this year? Who did you want to see this year that you thought, just didn't live up to the hype that you thought it was going to
I
be?
think the easiest answer is Javon, right? He was preseason first team Big West coming off of last season, his junior year, highest of the high, right? He had the buzzer beater in Diamond Classic. He had all those accolades coming out of last year and even into this year as well, preseason accolades. But something happened. I'm not too sure. Um, yeah, just it was kind of a disappointment for Jovan's senior year. I know that he kind of snuck his way back into the lineup the last few games of the season, but no, I would have loved to see Jovan play a lot better this year than what panned out.
Jovan, our boy, man. He's done. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he's done.
Oh, we gotta
He's
find
done.
someone new
We
to
get,
ride on.
I I know. Who will it be next year? What lucky incoming freshman will it be? But okay, last award. Who is your most improved player this year?
Most improved.
Anybody that started off slow, finished hot, had a bad freshman year, good sophomore year.
Maybe potentially Bernardo. I'll say Bernardo. Yeah, I'll probably go with Bernardo de Silva. His free throws are atrocious numbers percentage wise. I don't know if he got a little better this year, but it seemed like towards the end of the season he was getting a little bit better. Right, first half, you know, 1 out of 2 free throws at the line was lucky, but now 1 out of 2 was more consistent, and sometimes he even hit both free throws. So yeah, later in the year he really improved on that. As well as his game. He's always pretty consistent. He had multiple 20-point games this year. And yeah, Bernardo will be missed, but we'll see. We'll need to find another big to back up more sec for next year.
Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe next year we can say Akira as most improved.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Akira, he can hit the three. He can hit the three. So
Once he develops an inside game, he'll have the full arsenal, I think.
yeah,
But
he might be
okay,
dangerous. He might be dangerous.
yes, I think so too. But okay, we got one more thing on our agenda. As usual, we always like to play a game with our guests, and this one it's called the My Player Creation, a UH edition. So basically, we'll read off, a couple attributes to build a basketball player. You want to build the best basketball player, but you can only pick one UH or former or current UH basketball player for each category.
Okay.
We'll keep it in like I don't want to go like UH history, but like in our lifetime of watching UH basketball. So maybe like Ganot, the Gib Arnold, maybe late Bob Nash era. We'll kind of keep it in that time frame. But okay, the first one is let's say the body frame or a height of a player.
Body frame or heights. Hmm.
who's
I
got
might,
the
I might have
solid 6'8", 250 body like LeBron James.
Roderick Fleming had a good
Okay, Rod
uh
Fleming.
yeah. I don't know what exactly the the height and weight was. I can try to see what it was back then. But he was pretty. I think he was listed as a guard, but 6'7", 210.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very athletic too.
he
So
was
I like that one.
very athletic.
That's a
Yeah,
good one. Okay, what about ball handling?
ball handling skills. I'll go with Roderick Bobbitt. Never a doubt. You can always trust him with the ball.
Okay, handles. What about defense?
Oh, defense. Might have to go with defense. Maybe Junior Madut.
Junior.
Yeah, he was pretty good defensively. You know, he has long arms.
Junior. Okay.
He can
Was
move.
he an all conference defender? I actually don't remember.
I'm
He
not too
has
sure.
the length. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's definitely lanky, so I could see that being a pick.
Yeah.
Junior. Okay. What about shooting?
Oh, shooting. Zane Johnson.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer in that one.
Dialed into three, Zane Johnson. Yep.
Okay, offensive post game. This one might be a.
Ooh.
I think I know who you would pick on this one too.
Probably Isaac Fotu.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Isaac Fotu was smooth down
He
low.
was a literal fundamental down there.
Yeah.
Every move in the arsenal down there on the block. Okay. Next one is dunking.
Oh, Aaron Valdez.
Okay,
Aaron
yeah, that's
Valdez
a good one. That's a
or
good one.
Samuta. Yeah. I'll probably go with
Samuta.
Aaron Valdez. He has some bunnies.
Oh yeah, Aaron Valdez was a freak.
Yeah, definitely Valdez. I was gonna say
I mean, he was jumping
gotta
over
be. I think.
like he was pulling LeBron stuff, or you know how LeBron jumped over John Lucas. Like Aaron Valdez was doing stuff like that. So yeah, I like that one. Okay, last one. The leadership or hashtag clutch gene. Who do you want with the ball late in the game?
Oh man. Maybe Isaac Fleming. You know, he just had that confidence with him, the swagger. Like he wasn't afraid to back down to to whatever it was. He would just always attack at it with confidence. So
Isaac
I guess
Fleming.
I'll go with him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he was Showtime. He was definitely the Showtime version of Hawaii basketball, at
Yeah.
least when we were watching. So okay, I think that player would be a solid second round pick in the NBA. Solid second round pick. Maybe he would jump over Bronny James in the draft. But hey, you maybe Bronny James should transfer to UH, man. I mean, I
He
don't
should.
know.
He'll get more playing
He
time.
he can be the guy, man. He can score 25 points a game, take 30 shots. He can be Elijah Pepper for us, you know?
Yeah, that's not a
I
bad
know.
deal.
I know. Well, I think that's all we got on UH basketball. I think that's it for the season. So
Another season.
yep, we gotta wait another, what is it, March? We gotta wait another eight months for basketball season. But again, Hunter, thanks again for coming on. We love talking UH with you. Hopefully the next time I guess will be UH football season. So that's coming around the corner in a few months. So I guess until then, Hunter, take it easy. And thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Hunter. Okay, so that was a good segment we had with Hunter. Unfortunately, discussing our last UH basketball talk of the season. But with that, we will keep it moving to the rest of college basketball, which is still going on. So, getting into March Madness, Matt, first of all, gotta acknowledge our alumni once again. The women
Back
back to back University of Portland women's basketball team are the conference champions of the West Coast Conference, 2 years in a row, beating Gonzaga, I believe by 1 point. They just barely came away with a win, but a win nonetheless, which means the Lady Pilots are going dancing once again, Matt. They have a tough side of the bracket, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I was taking a look today at their bracket, and I believe that they eventually are due, if they win, I think they have to play Iowa. So
That's a potential Sweet 16 matchup if it plays
yeah,
out.
that I mean that would be amazing if they could even make it that far. As the what seed are they? I
They're
believe
the
like the
13
13,
seed, so they
13
got to play
seed.
Kansas State as the 4 seed.
Yeah, gonna
And the
be.
women's is harder too because they play that the first and second rounds at the highest seeds home court. So you're basically playing a road game because you're playing at Kansas State at the highest seed. So you're basically going on the road for your first game, which is it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough
Mhm.
one. But it's March. You
So
never know what's going to happen.
exactly what you said, Matt. It is March. Anything can happen. So we will definitely be checking in on the Portland women's team. But with that being said, Matt, let's get into the other women's team that we root for, the Rainbow Wahine. Unfortunately, they lose in the semis. Not sure if you got to see that one, Matt, but
Yeah, that was a sad. It was tough to watch at the
oh, it
end,
was not a good
honestly.
game. Oh, okay.
No, because they, I mean, they're the better team, definitely. But I mean, Lily Wahine Kapu, she had the worst game I've ever seen her play. Like she was not even bad, like atrociously bad. Like I think she was like 1 for 14 from the field, and she had a couple big turnovers late. And then, as bad as the game was, I think UH was down one. She ends up taking the last shot with like 10 seconds left. Chance to go to the line. You hit two, you take the lead, get a stop, you win. She misses both of the like both, like not even one out of two. Like you missed both. And I think that was like, oh, that was a tough one to watch. And then this possession before she took the shot, she had a step on the defender. I thought she was gonna make the layup, but she kind of just blew the layup. So I was like, oh my gosh. And she's a good player. Like without her, we don't even get there. Like we don't have the season that we have. So I'm not gonna like just throw her under the bus or anything, but she just had the wrong day to have, I think, the worst game that she's ever played. And I think she would probably say that too if you were to interview her. So just a sad ending because I really thought Hawaii had a chance to three-peat coming out of the Big West. They're back-to-back champs heading into the tournament with the number one seed. So yeah, it was tough. I was following it on my phone. I was like, oh, they're kind of winning, okay. Oh, they're losing a little bit. But then when it got down to crunch time, I turned the game on ESPN Plus, and then that was the last 2 minutes that I watched. It was like, oh, that was tough to see, tough to see. But their season is still going. I think. I think they're playing like a
They're in like
women's
a
version of the,
consolation.
yeah, like a postseason tournament basically for the women's. They qualified because they were the regular season champs. So it's not over, but they're not dancing. So yeah, it doesn't have the
Mhm.
same aura. But
I know. There's like the one constant, or not constant, but if UH men's aren't going to be in, hopefully at least the women could make it, as they were the number one seed going in. Like you said, the preseason favorites. Just an unfortunate way to end the season. So let's shake off all the UH basketball stuff this year, both the men's and women's. We'll look forward to next season. Hopefully one of the two, if not both, are dancing, which would be great.
both.
Yeah. We can always hope for both. But let's get into a little bit of the craziness of March Madness, Matt. We can discuss both sides. And starting with the men, though, we have our brackets now revealed. We're still yet to have those first four in. Oh, I mean, sorry. what do they call it? The last four in, or like the
The
bubble
last four
games,
in.
last four in.
Yeah.
So those are yet to be decided, but the rest of the bracket is now out and available. And let's just keep it short and sweet here for us because there's a lot of games. No way we're covering all the games. I don't know how much college basketball you keep up with, Matt, but I just know this season has been kind of crazy with a lot of number one or high seeds falling in the regular season. There is no real dominant force, I guess you could say, that we've seen in past years. So a lot of parity, I think, to go around. I believe we're gonna have a good March of Madness, and I think a lot of upsets as usual, but maybe a little bit more than usual we'll be seeing take place here. So let's just get to we'll say our final four, Matt. And why don't you go ahead? You give me yours. I because I only made one bracket so far. It was kind of just all by feel, but I mean it's March. I know there's the real junkies that have the stats and that correlate to wins in March and all this stuff. We don't. So
That
why
that
don't you
means
just
but that means nothing in this tournament, honestly. It means nothing. It's
yeah.
one game eliminations. One team could just be hot that day, and then that's all you need.
So who's your final format? Mine is really weird, but I'll
Yours
let
is
you go
really weird.
first.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say mine is weird, but I think the obvious one, I'll start in the East. I'm gonna pick UConn, the defending champs. I'm just looking at that bracket. Like, I think they're, I wouldn't say on cruise control, but I would think they're hands down the team in a tier by itself in that bracket. So I got UConn in the East. In the West, I got North Carolina coming out of the West, another number one seed. Um, Really, it was between them and Arizona. I thought that would be a great game, by the way. Caleb Love revenge game, possibly against UNC. But I got UConn in that bracket in the West. And then in the South, I'm actually going to go with the Kentucky Wildcats, the 3 seed in that bracket. I think I like the mixture of offensive firepower they have. Like, they're very explosive. They have Antonio Reeves, a senior guard. He averages 20 points a game. Reed Shepard, possibly going to be a first round pick in the NBA draft. And then you've got Rob Dillingham, another talented guard. He's a true freshman. So they're really just all firepower. So anytime you have that, you have a chance to win every single game. So, and then there's something about Houston with the way that they just got shellacked in their conference championship game by Iowa State. Like that's not a good way to go into March, I think, to get blown out like that. So I think Kentucky gets out of there. And then in the Midwest, it was so easy to pick Purdue, but I'm not going to pick Purdue. I actually think Tennessee. I think Tennessee will come out as the 2 seed. Um, Dalton Kennett, he's kind of the anchor in that team. Might be potentially National Player of the Year. Another senior. So all these teams really have experienced senior guard play. I think that takes you a long way in March. So that's my final four: UConn, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Okay. Well, I'll just preface my picks by saying don't watch college basketball throughout the year. Didn't do any research about this except what I kind of heard what was going on in tournament play. So I'm gonna have to agree with the UConn pick first of all because casually tracking the season, I believe they are one of the stronger teams. The experience back, coming off the championship, I think they'll be one of the teams there late. I have Arizona as coming out of the West bracket. I think Caleb Love, I like what he's done and I've seen in the past from him. That's about the only reason I picked Arizona because I knew a player on their team. So, like I said,
He is
zero
so
research, zero
so
research,
inefficient.
zero research. I feel like the 2 seed is coming out. Here's where it gets real weird. So, out of the South, I got NC State because of the run they went on, right? Like I said, sometimes it's just the hot team, Matt. Sometimes it's just the hot team. You're playing your best basketball at the right time. And they ran through an absolute gauntlet, right? To win their conference championship. So I'm gonna give it to NC State solely on the fact that sometimes that's all you need to catch fire at the exact right time, everything to be clicking. So I'm gonna rock with the NC State.
I don't hate that pick. I really
And
don't. I think they can make noise.
I think they're gonna make noise. Final Four is asking a bit much, but I think they'll make some noise. I still am gonna stick with them for my Final Four. And my last pick, I think this will make you happy. The Oregon Ducks, Matt, coming out of the Midwest. Same reason as NC State, ran through their conference and came out on top in the last Pac-12 champion. I believe, yes, the last Pac-12 championship. So same thing. I don't know anything about their team, but to make it all the way to become the conference champion last, time playing for a Pac-12 championship, it's got to mean something, right? So I'm gonna roll with Oregon. Look for them to upset, I believe, Tennessee in the second round. So uh, that's who. Or sorry, actually, third round.
What is that? Sweet
I'm in the third round.
16.
In the third round, yeah, yeah. So I think they beat South Carolina and Akron because I think Akron's going to beat Creighton. So
Creighton
uh,
is pretty good. I don't
I
know
don't
about
know.
that
I don't
one.
even know what I'm saying.
Creighton is actually pretty good. They
I
got a
will live with the madness with everyone else. I will enjoy it. I don't have the mental capacity, Matt, to be putting it into football, NBA, basketball, and baseball right now. So college football, I'm sorry, you're taking the back seat here, but I will thoroughly enjoy March. I'll just say it at that. Those are my final four picks, Matt. Cinderella team to look out for. I mean, the 11 seeds, I guess you could say, are my Cinderella quote unquote teams, but why don't you give me like 12 seed or lower that you want to kind of take a look at?
ooh, 12 seed or lower. I mean, I think Grand Canyon is a sneaky one. There's something about St. Mary's, like when you play St. Mary's in the tournament, just a history. Like you just you don't feel intimidated by them. They're a very great team, fundamentally sound, but I don't think opponents walk in and like, oh, like we're playing St. Mary's today, like scary, like you respect them, but you don't fear them. And I think Grand Canyon, they have some talent. They have Lockwood, former Oregon uh player there. He transferred. So I think they have a couple guys that potentially they said that maybe could be on an NBA roster one day. So I would look out for Grand Canyon. I mean, you already said NC State, Oregon. I totally agree with you. I could see both those teams easily going to the Sweet 16 in some capacity. But I would say Grand Canyon as the 12th seed for me. Because
Okay.
I will almost guarantee there will be at least one 12-5 upset in this tournament. It's like I'll bet the house there will be
Mm-hmm.
at least one, possibly two. I
Yeah.
mean, the matchups look pretty juicy to pick. Like James Madison has 30 wins. Like mm, that's a pretty tough team to play, I think, when you win 30 games in a season.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you
I
there,
would
Matt.
almost bet the house.
Let me just say, looking at these teams, once again, I do not watch any college basketball. I'm gonna
So
go
many
with Yale.
disclaimers.
Give me Yale to
Matthew
upset
Cotton,
Auburn.
Matthew
Or
Cotton alum.
give me Yale to upset Auburn. because Ivy League. So there we go. Yale is my pick
Well, they're
for
gonna
my
outsmart
Cinderella
them. They're
run.
gonna write up a formula, and
I don't know how they're gonna do it, Matt, but give me Yale. I'm feeling Yale this year. So
what about
let
the Peacocks? St. Peter's, they're back in the tournament.
I saw they are back. They've had their run. It's time
They're
for the
done.
Yale boys to have their run this year. But I do really want to quickly talk about the women's bracket, Matt, because Caitlin Clark, something about the Caitlin Clark effect. It really is bringing more fans to women's basketball, especially at the college level. Just wanted to see if you had any quick thoughts about any seeds that you're maybe looking for. And I've always thought this, Matt. I don't know if I've said this on the pod last year or not, but in my opinion, the disparity from top teams to kind of the lower teams in women's basketball, it's still pretty vast, I would say. There's always the potential for upsets, I feel like. But to me, the one seeds, the Iowa, South Carolina, USC, and Texas, even going up as far to say Stanford, Notre Dame, and teams like LSU. I still feel like they're really good teams. I don't see them losing before, the Sweet 16. So I just feel like that's still where the women's college basketball is at. But I don't know. I think this is the year. I would love to see Caitlin Clark finish on top. Will that happen? I don't know, because I think South Carolina is really good. I think I still always think Stanford is really tough. LSU, they didn't have the strongest regular season, but they have the experience, they have the coach that's been there, and Haley Van Leef, who is kind of had an up and down season herself, but seemed like they were coming into their own over the course of the season. So I'm looking forward to it. I will be cheering for Caitlin Clark just because I think her doing well is just good for basketball in general, right? I think if the longer she goes, it just elevates her story that much more to send her off to the next level next year. So yeah, I think it'll be some good quality games in this tournament for sure.
Yeah, I think they. Do you think they did that on purpose? I was looking at the bracket. They have Iowa, and then just so conveniently they put LSU 3 seed in that bracket, so potential Elite Eight matchup if it maybe plays out like how the script writers would want it. You get a rematch of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. I think that'd be great for women's
Cinema.
college.
That would be
Like
cinema.
they would be cheering so
I'm
hard for
tuning
that.
in for that for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. But I don't know, man. LSU's just something wasn't clicking with them. I thought they were going to be hands down, they were going to steamroll everyone, but that wasn't the case. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think this year is the year for Caitlin Clark to get over that hump. I don't know if they're going to win because South Carolina, they're like the hands down, they're the best team on paper, complete team, I think. So I think it's going to be hard to beat them. But hey, don't count on UConn too. UConn 3 seed, Paige Buckets, Paige Beckers. I mean, she was the hype before, Clayton Clark, and then she had an injury. So I think Paige Beckers will use this as a motivation for her to kind of get back on the map and, put herself at a Caitlin Clark S level, as a player that she was. I mean, she was player of the year as a freshman. So she's more than capable of putting the team on her back, I think. So don't sleep on the 3 seed. That sounds terrible. Like don't sleep on a 3 seed when the men's where it's like, oh, we don't sleep on the on the 11 seed or the 12 seed. But like you said, that's kind of how women's basketball is, right? You got the 12 teams that are just dominant, and then they're just gonna steamroll everyone, and then from there it's any man for
I
itself
still
or
hope
any
we
team
see
for itself.
some upsets,
I mean, there's
but
always upset.
I really hope
Portland.
I really hope just Iowa doesn't lose before the Sweet 16 at least. I really hope I don't think Caitlin Clark will let her team lose though. Like that's the other thing.
No, not
I
at home. They're playing at Iowa too, so there's no way she's gonna lose at home. No
I
way.
agree. So we'll keep an eye on that. USC another fun team. Juju Watkins. I
Oh
I
yeah,
like I like how she plays. I think the efficiency she's still figuring it out. I mean, she's a true freshman, right? But she's another fun one to watch. So the women's game definitely in good hands moving forward, I believe, Matt. So that being said, we can kind of wrap our preview. We'll check in next week to see how the madness is going. But before we get off the basketball topic completely, we didn't even really plan to talk too much NBA stuff, but I just felt like there's been so much going on and I had to bring it up. So, first of all, Matt, reaction to Kyrie's game winner last night. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, 2 seconds left off the inbound, moving to your left with Jokic having to elevate over Jokic, running floater left-handed from the elbow. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. Who else could do that but
Yeah,
Kyrie?
yeah.
Honestly, I mean, going with your offhand, fading over a 7 footer. I don't know. I don't know how many
It
people
was
ever could be able to do that.
it was
Just
crazy. I was watching that game live actually, so I saw the last couple minutes. You know, the crate. I mean, even Luca before had a game
Luca,
tying
big
three,
shot. Yep.
right? Jamal Murray had another one before that, so it was like just the stars came to play. But Kyrie shot like when he shot, I was going crazy. Like, oh my gosh, like, how the heck did he hit that? But did you not see like a little bit of like, wow, that looked like like in the 80s, right? With Magic Johnson, like, the sky hook. I mean, it wasn't a sky hook, but it kind of gave me a feel of that. It's like, wow, like you don't see guys take that shot now in this era. Like everyone's gonna take the step back three or they're gonna drive to the basket and get fouled. But to hit I don't even know if you call it a hook shot or a floater, more of a hook shot, I guess. But opposite hand, just ridiculous. I mean, he's the best finisher around the rim in the game, I think. So I guess
Definitely as a guard, right? I
that
think there's no debate. And I've kind of thought this. Let me just get your opinion real quick, Matt. All time, at least in our era, but I always regarded prime young pre-injury Derrick Rose as like one of the most insane finishers around the rim. I think a lot of the younger generation that didn't get to see him in his prime might not understand it, but young Derrick Rose, like the explosiveness and yeah, he could dunk on people and all this stuff, but he could finish like r- ridiculously. But there's something about how Kyrie does it, and
mhm.
yeah, he's still athletic, right? Don't get me wrong, he is, but he's so like it's so fluid and it's so smooth and it's so crafty. It's like so artistic that I just have to appreciate it a little bit more than Derrick Rose at this point, I think, because the spin that he puts on the ball, the angles that he can take, the ball handle, like it, all of it packaged together. It really is art when you watch Kyrie play and like finish around the rim. Just so many like unique ways of using both hands at different angles. Um, I got to tip my cap. I think it's Kyrie for my money now. I've always thought he had the best handle, but now like I think he has both. So I just have to tip my cap.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I mean, Derrick Rose was just he's the youngest MVP in the NBA. But I think the thing that would make me say Kyrie is because Derrick Rose is so explosive. Like he literally is above the rim sometimes, right? So Kyrie, yes, he's athletic. He can dunk, but he's not gonna, poster guys. Like that's not him. But the way that he finishes, he's like under the basket, reversed. Like, it's just so much torque on his body. It's like you said, it's art. Like he's not dunking or he's not jumping over guys. It's like the wiggle, the finesse. I think that's what it is. So yeah, I mean, I would probably say Kyrie in terms of finishing at the rim. Definitely him because he's not as explosive as Derrick Rose, I would say.
Yeah. And it was just, I don't know. It's just so poetic and a little bit sad though because I need the Mavs to lose, but you just got to tip your cap to seeing something like that. So tip my cap to Kyrie. Real quick, wanted to hit on the Lakers because they finished their kind of gauntlet that I was talking about. Unfortunately, ended on two tough losses, although they did get a big blowout win tonight against Atlanta, but couldn't beat the Kings. Anthony Davis can't beat Sabonis, I guess. I think that makes him 0-10 all time against Sabonis now, which is not what you want to hear. I really thought that was going to be a big game. And then I believe it was Sunday night or Saturday night, I should say, when they played Golden State. Anthony Davis goes out because he gets poked in the eye. So I guess I can't take too much away from that. Other than the fact that everyone's been talking about this, and I've kind of said this all season anyway, without Jared Vanderbilt, the Lakers have no perimeter defense. As good as they are, like I really do think Rui, Reeves, and D'Angelo give you such good rhythm, maybe, or different options offensively that they know how to score the basketball. But when it comes to defense, those are not three marquee defenders, right? So not having Jared Vanderbilt is huge. I still wish I know Dinwiddie had the block on Dame, right, to end the game several games ago, but really wish we would have went out and got just a true defender like a Pat Bev, honestly, something like that,
At Beverly.
where where we could have seen some or just a guy that is gonna be out there to play defense. We can do the late game switches with offense defense, but we ended it. We're currently sitting at the 9 seed. Could have been a lot worse, honestly, with how the schedule was set up. They're 2.5 games out from Phoenix and Dallas, and only 3 out from the 5 with New Orleans and Sacramento, although the Pelicans are playing really good ball right now. So it's still doable, I think, to escape the 9-10 game. Still doable. We're going to have to go on a run, but just whatever they have to do to not get matched up with Denver, I still stand firm on that. That is the one series I think they need to avoid at all costs, even if it means losing a game to get the 8 seed. If Denver's the 2, I'm standing strong on that no matter what. So to wrap up basketball though, Matt, gotta talk about Anthony Edwards. Just killed John Collins today. Like, oh my goodness. Another dunk of the year for him. Kind of takes some of the burn away from Utah Watanabe a couple years ago when Ant absolutely obliterated him.
God, that was bad.
That one
That
was
was a
bad.
bad one.
That one was bad, but this, I don't know, maybe because it was one of those dunks where it's so vicious, but he didn't he when you throw it in like that, right? It's almost like more violent somehow. I don't know. But yeah, absolutely destroyed John Collins. Dunk of the year. That's it. We just saw it. I don't think anything is gonna top that. So Anthony Edwards, man, just he's kind of coming into his own, Matt. The league is in good hands going forward, I will definitely say.
I think so. I think so.
So okay, well, I just want to get the basketball stuff off my chest, and let's move on to some NFL talk because free agency did not let up from that first week that we got to talk about. So Matt, I'm sure you're happy because Jerry finally had some action in free agency. So why don't you run through the Cowboys free agency in the past week?
Good job, Jerry. We signed someone not from our team or I should say, not from last year's team. Great job. I don't know if that means he's done for the offseason or whatnot, but the Cowboys did sign linebacker Eric Kendricks, in which we all thought he was actually going to go to San Francisco. And I don't know what happened there, but he switches, he goes to Dallas. Kind of a huge need, honestly. It's not a, splashy play, but Dallas, we don't have any linebackers, so just the fact that we have a linebacker is a win in itself. I think the metrics say for Eric Kendricks, he was mostly an average linebacker, which is honestly, that's good because we had below average linebacker play. So if we get average linebacker play with Michael Parsons, with Diggs coming back, we can be better. But there is still room for improvement. We did sign a couple key pieces back. Jordan Lewis, slot corner. I don't know what that means with if Jerry says, "Oh, we're done," we don't need anybody else on the outside. I completely disagree because we saw what happened last year. We lose our starting corner. We're just in scramble mode the rest of the season. So I still think you can go out and maybe sign Stephon Gilmore, bring him back somehow, any way you can. But I think that would be a huge piece. And then we signed a running back. Rico Dowdle is back with the team. So as of now, he is the starting running back. I would be shocked if that's the case. I think whether it's him and then you got to draft somebody, in April, that's probably going to be the path now. But yay, Jerry, he did something. He actually signed Eric Kendricks. That was the huge highlight for me. But I'm not gonna jump on the table for that because we need a lot more. We need so many things, and we just can't fill that all in the draft. And the lack of urgency in free agency is something that has been an issue with the Cowboys, but just not to the Joneses because they just think drafting is the key to success, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years now. So that's all I got to say. But, I'm just happy, baby steps. They signed someone outside of the organization from last year.
Yeah, Matt. And I mean, not to make you feel bad or anything, but the Dolphins, kind of the complete opposite of the Cowboys in activity in free agency now. Uh, I believe I did touch on they signed Jake Bailey. I was confused because I didn't think he had a great season. Nonetheless, we go out and we re-signed Salvin Ahmed. It's kind of been the third string running back the past several years in Miami. But we go out, we get a new center from the Titans, get a linebacker, Anthony Walker, tight ends. We're signing defensive tackles to 1 year deals. Couple big splash signings. We get Jordan Poyer from the Bills. We'll see how effective he is, but he's been a great player throughout his career, especially with that Buffalo secondary. And we signed Kendall Fuller, take him away from the Commanders. I believe he had a fairly strong year. So really good to see Miami staying active. And then one of the bigger ones, Shaq Barrett, to help with replacing some of the pieces we lost due to injury and free agency with pass rush. So to me, a lot of short term, 1 year type of contracts we're giving out. I think it's encouraging, not only, from a financial perspective, because we are able to reload and we re-sign some players on, 1 year term deals. So it's friendly cap wise, but it also to me says that, hey, people are willing to come to Miami. They like what they've seen enough to come on these 1-2 year deals and be kind of a contender. So yeah, it was going to be a tricky cap situation. I think Chris Greer has done a good job with what he's had to work with. and showing that they're still they're going for it. It's not a complete retool and sell everyone, build in the draft type of year. It's no, we're still here. We're still contenders. We're trying to win right now. And we're seeing, at least we'll see how the moves pan out, but at least it shows to me that, hey, this organization, they're ready to win right now. And another thing it tells me is that they're getting ready to sign Tua, because they're not dropping, the bigger term deals, and they believe they can win now. So you're not going to go out and get a better quarterback in free agency at this point, or in the draft, in my opinion, that's ready to win right now, like right now in this system. So I'm excited. And yeah, I think it's perfect, because now we can choose what we need to address in the draft. A lot of different options sitting around in the 20 pick area for Miami. So I'm excited, Matt. The team is restocking. I didn't think we would look like this, but I mean, Poyer, Fuller, Shaq Barrett, and don't forget, I know we talked about Johnny Smith before, but we also get Siren Neal from Buffalo, who was one of their best special teamers. And then I don't know if I talked about Jordan Brooks, but he replaces Jerome Baker in the middle of that defense. So really retooled. And I'm excited what we're gonna look like come OTAs and preseason. So
Yeah, it must be
that'll
nice to have a
cover.
GM that takes free agency seriously. I mean,
Well,
that's all I gotta say. It must be nice. I don't know what that's like. So I'm glad that you're happy and your team is doing stuff, because
yeah,
that's
at least they're doing stuff. We don't know how
what
it's
you're
gonna pan
supposed to do.
out, right? We don't know how it's gonna pan out, but at least it is encouraging to see some activity, I guess. So
That's all it is. Like, I wasn't asking Jerry, oh, go sign, 5-year guys, right? You were a division winner last year. Like, you don't need a complete overhaul. Like, you just need a few pieces here and there, replace these guys. Like, you guys all got 1-year deals. I think that's great, right? You're not attached to them long term. Their quality, you know what you're gonna get. So I don't know, why can't my team do that? Why can't we get guys on 1-year deals, and fill needs, right? Shaq Barrett, that's a great signing, So where's that, Jerry? Like, there's no risk there. It's 1 year. If he gets hurt, oh well, not to sound like I don't care if he gets injured, but there's no, like, you're not attached to them for a long-term deal. And who was the last guy that did that to? Oh, Michael Gallup. Yeah, they cut him. So I don't know. Jerry just doesn't take free agency seriously. That's probably why you're not winning, or one of it. So
well,
it's just another free agency of disappointment for me.
I'm sorry, bud. Well, we'll see. Maybe, it's a good draft for you. I'll leave it at that.
Well, they need to hit on every draft pick, because that's all it comes down to. They got to hit 1 through 7 jackpot. That's the only way.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just run through some of the other bigger signings or key names that signed in the past week that we haven't had a chance to discuss yet. So, Hawaii boy Marcus Mariota still in the league. He goes over to the rival Commanders, with Sam Howell shortly being traded away after. So interesting with Marcus's contract. I believe it's about like 6.5 of guaranteed money. So a little bit interesting to think about what Washington is going to kind of do, in my opinion. And maybe you feel the same way, Matt, but that tells me similar to his Atlanta situation, where he's going to probably be in line to start the season. They're going to draft the rookie quarterback. I believe it'll probably be Jaden Daniels.
Jaden
And,
Daniels.
it'll be great because you can implement a scheme that will suit both guys, both mobile guys. Marcus still mobile. He's 31 or 32, I think, but with the years he's taken off in Philly and with the Raiders, his body isn't feeling all of that wear and tear, right? As a typical quarterback playing his whole career would, especially as a running/mobile quarterback. So I think it's a perfect situation for Washington to go out and get Marcus, have Jaden Daniels maybe sit if he's not quite ready just yet. But it seems like Marcus, especially, has embraced his role in the league now as kind of that veteran presence in the QB room who can still is still a fringe low end starter in the league. So I think it's a good situation now because uh, you get something back for Sam Howell at least. Sounded like he wasn't really going to be their plan moving forward, and if you're not going to have him be your future. You might as well trade him away now while you can get some value out of him. So I think that's what Washington's going to do, Matt. That makes sense to you, I'm assuming.
Yep, 100%.
So
I'm just
especially,
shocked at Sam Howell and they gave up on him. So I mean, I know they have the number 2 picks. That's probably why, but it's not like he was
and
terrible.
he wasn't
Like
terrible.
he's shown
He
flashes.
struggled a little bit down the stretch with the turnovers and stuff. But yeah, he did show flashes, especially with that QB draft class. Now looking back, it's looking a little bit rough for a lot of those QBs, except for Trevor Lawrence, who we can get to him later. But he's kind of the most secure guy out of that draft class now. So yeah, I think makes sense for Washington. Blow it up, rebuild from scratch. You're gonna have to compete with Dallas and Philly, I think, in that division in the future. So makes sense. I like the move for them. I'll run through a couple of these other ones and then we can get back to the Matt. But Keenan Allen, he goes over to the Bears. Kenny Pickett traded to the Eagles. And then Justin Fields, interestingly enough, traded to the Steelers. A little bit interesting there. So, first of all, Matt, with the Keenan Allen one, I mean, what a situation for Caleb Williams, who we are assuming, I believe now, will be the number 1 pick, to really go into. You got DJ Moore, who is a quality number 1 receiver, and now you're adding another number 1 receiver in Keenan Allen, who, yeah, we know he's typically a little bit nicked up during the season here and there. He'll miss some games, but coming off of his best season with the Chargers, wasn't willing to take a pay cut, understandably so. We always say players should get their money on this show, especially in the NFL. So what a situation, right? To be going into that with a pretty good defense. I would say Chicago's defense last year was definitely their strong suit. And they won 7 games and they're only getting better, right? Kind of a run first team. And now uh they have Mixon, right?
They got Swift,
Oh,
DeAndre
Swift.
Swift.
Sorry, DeAndre
They'll
Swift. Yeah,
have
I
DJ Moore,
couldn't keep up with all those. Yeah.
Cole Kmet.
So Cole Kmet, solid tight end in this league. So what a situation for Caleb Williams to be walking into. I would say a much better situation than what Bryce Young walked into in Carolina this past season. So I think the future is looking bright for Chicago, and yeah, they're going to need that to compete with the Detroit and Green Bay of the division. So looking forward to that. I think Caleb Williams has a chance to come in and have some success as a rookie, maybe similar to what CJ Stroud had this past year in Houston. I don't think he's quite in as good of a situation because I think looking back now, I mean, Houston just hit a gold mine with their young talent and the coaching and the culture shift, right? So I don't know if it's quite as ideal as Houston, but much better than Bryce Young in Carolina, I would say. So hey, if I'm
I
Caleb
would say
Williams, I'm
still
feeling
better
pretty
than
good.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty
Yeah.
good, right? I'd be feeling pretty good. So Um, but to me, Matt, the Steelers situation, yeah, this one's the fun, interesting, thought provoking one. I'll say so. Obviously, after the Russell Wilson signing, kind of assume Kenny Pickett, you're not the starter anymore. I think that was pretty well established. Not great numbers in his career when he got the start, so they send him off to Philly. as they were looking for a backup when Marcus left. So kind of makes sense. Okay, Russ is going to be the starter, like we said, right? What you pointed out, great deal for the Steelers, 1 year vet minimum. Denver's eating up all the salary, and it's only a 1 year commitment with Russ. So what, was Denver a fluke, or was it a coaching thing? Are we gonna get old Russ back, maybe? And a just perfect situation for the Steelers. And then find out they go out and get Justin Fields for a sixth round potential fourth round pick. Uh, I mean, pretty shocking stuff there. Um, but Matt, I want to get your take on this because I was thinking about it. I'm still not sure what I completely think about it, but what does this tell you uh, about the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and what they're trying to do this season with the quarterback position?
I think they're trying to find who their quarterback of the future is. I think if Russ, I would think he's going to start the season as the starter, but with a talented, you could say, prospect behind you, I don't think they're going to be afraid to pull the plug because they're not committed to this guy. 1 year contract minimum. If we don't like him, whatever, it's okay. We only invested $1 million, and then they can develop Justin Fields. But it's like, well, if Russ say turns back the clock, he's the guy. They probably sign him, and then I would think either I'm not sure what Justin Fields' contract situation is. I don't know if his rookie deal is almost up. I think it is, but I would think if it expires, obviously they don't pick up the 5th year option and they just let him go. But it's like the risk is what, a 6th round pick. And if he's going to be playing behind Russell Wilson, you're only going to give up a 6th round pick because he has to play 51% of the games to even get that 4th round compensation. So I think the Steelers, they're just trying to find that quarterback of the future, and they're really going to use this season to kind of indicate who it's going to be and what direction they're going to go. But I mean, I just thought it was pretty unfortunate now that we realized like this was Justin Fields' market. Like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, like, oh, the Falcons should have tried to get him. He could be the starter, kind of grow with a young team, maybe, Bijan, Drake London, kind of all the same age. Maybe you can develop a core. They went with Kirk Cousins. But a 6th round pick, that's telling me
I
nobody
can't
wanted this
believe
guy.
nobody wanted Justin
Nobody
Fields.
wanted him.
Maybe we're missing something, Matt. There's something we don't know. But just looking at, you know, physical ability, right? I mean, even Trey Lance, what he went for a third, I
Fourth.
believe, fourth. So, like I think Desmond Ritter got traded for more. He goes over to, was it the Chargers? I believe. Um,
Ooh, I'm not
I need to
sure.
look
I
this
forgot
up.
where he
I
went.
know he got traded. Uh,
Yeah,
so I believe, or was it the Raiders? Oh, Cardinals. It was the Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, just puzzling. I missed something. I thought the ceiling on Justin Fields, even the floor on Justin Fields was higher than a 6th round pick. I thought he would go for at least a third. I could have understood a fourth, but at least a third round pick. I mean, absolutely dynamic with the ball in his hands, able to create. So I can't even blame a lot of it on him. I thought like the system really didn't suit his overall talent. Nevertheless, I think pretty ideal situation for Pittsburgh moving forward, short and long term, because they got kind of their answer either way. Um, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see how Pittsburgh looks because they're gonna need good quarterback play in that division. Um,
Yes, they do.
yeah. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on how that progresses and the stories that come out of Pittsburgh. But before we get off the NFL map, another some big news, not free agency related, but Aaron Donald decided to retire this past week. And man, what else can you say about Aaron Donald and the career that he had. First ballot Hall of Famer in 5 years when he becomes eligible. Matt, probably the most dominant defensive player in our generation for the longest. JJ Watt in his prime was pretty insane. We've seen a lot of great disruptors, but I don't know if we've ever seen anything quite like Aaron Donald. And with how long he was able to sustain it at his position, um, the quickness, the power, the agility, everything that he showed, and ultimately a Super Bowl champion, making the game sealing play when it mattered, right? So I think his legacy is going to be forever cemented in NFL history. Congrats on a great career, and we will definitely be seeing you in Canton in 5 years, Matt. So, how do you feel about Aaron Donald retiring?
Oh, I'm happy as a Cowboys fan. I mean, I think the whole league is happy, selfishly because opposing quarterbacks don't have to fear this guy coming in his face, every single snap. Um, but like you said, man, I think first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. But I think what makes Aaron Donald so special is, like you said, right? JJ Watt was regarded as probably the best defensive player before Aaron Donald. But Aaron Donald plays tackle. JJ Watt was on the edge most of the time, making a living, and he was great at it. Don't get me wrong, but to do what he did in terms of Aaron Donald dominating the line as a tackle, that's unheard of. You don't hear guys, Hall of Fame guys that just take over the game like that on the inside. And he's, splitting double teams, he's getting triple teamed, later in his career, in his prime. So yeah, I mean, this guy is a force of nature. I mean, he's got to be, I don't know what you think, in my opinion, probably one of the top five greatest defenders of all time. No particular
Oh,
order.
definitely up there.
I mean, Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, I would say
Maybe
Donald.
Aaron
I
Donald
think
at
Ray
three.
Ray
Ray
Lewis.
Lewis.
I mean, you got so many guys, that fit in that boat. So yeah, definitely a top five defensive player of all time for me.
Yeah, and like you said, Matt, to do it at 6'1", I mean, some people would say, oh, his height actually helped him because he had the leverage and yada yada. But I mean, just how explosive he is off the ball, just an absolute disruptor. You literally need to double team him every time or good luck. And I think it's just insane, Matt. In such a talented league nowadays where I think maybe outside of the quarterback position, you could say, Pro Bowls, right? Still, I think are still pretty relevant for the most part. But he was a Pro Bowler every single year of his career. He played 10 years in the NFL. He was a 10-time Pro Bowler, but even more impressive, an 8-time All Pro. 8-time All Pro. I don't know, just not much you can really say about that. Only 2 years he wasn't an All Pro, Matt. His rookie year, and then in 2022 when he only played 11 games. So, I mean, how do you even kind of fathom that at the NFL level? Got to just tip your cap to Aaron Donald and yeah, wish him the best in his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but okay, Matt. With that being said, let's get to our last subject here of the pod, and we'll get to some baseball talk. So, heard back about Gerrit Cole, I believe. Luckily, it's not the TJ surgery that would have been
Yeah.
absolutely tragic, but still gonna miss some time. So with him, I'll just kind of package him at, but with Gerrit Cole being out and Aaron Judge getting a little questionable now with his injury. I know they signed Dylan Cease, How are we feeling though? Do you think that's enough?
I mean, I always say they need more pitching. I think they need to get somebody. I don't know who it's going to be, but he's out for, I would say, they said 1 to 2 months, which is great, by the way, which is what we were hearing, possible Tommy John, to go from Tommy John to out 1 to 2 months, that's a huge win. Um, but you still got to cover that for 2 months. And knowing the Yankees, they're going to take the cautious side of things. So I would say more towards 2 months. So we're not going to see Gerrit Cole in a major league game to maybe June, early June at this point. So how are we going to tread water? So I still think we should have got, maybe Blake Snell kicked the door. They did kick the door for Dylan Cease, but he went to San Diego. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I heard a rumor that the Yankees are looking at Michael Lorenzen. I think that's a interesting option. I would definitely be open to that. I don't think it would cost that much. So if we can get a guy like that who made the All-Star team last year through a no-hitter, so yeah, I think we can get a guy like that. But they just can't sit there and say, "Oh, we're good." Like it's not even Gerrit Cole. Like Aaron Judge is nicked up. I'm not honestly not worried about Aaron Judge. I really think they're being cautious with him. And even he said himself, if this was, regular season game, he would be out there. So I'm not gonna panic on that one. DJ LeMahieu did get hurt, I think today or yesterday. That's a little bit concerning. I don't think now he's going to be ready for opening day. So now you need a third baseman. He was supposed to be your starting third baseman. I don't even know who they're going to put at third base because Peraza's hurt. So, like Josh Harrison, like maybe they sign him. Like I really don't know what they're going to do, but they can't just go into opening day with the guys that they have. They need to fill in some holes and pieces. So, yeah, they better not be done because they got what is this, the 18th? They got about a week and a half to sign someone, probably maybe a week, if anything, if you want to get him ready. So, yeah, I'm a little worried more for the DJ injury because he's supposed to be our leadoff hitter, man. So, I don't know. And now Nestor's starting opening day. He's gonna play against the Astros. That was another, you know, rare sighting to see because at one point they were saying they didn't know who was going to be the starter because they wanted to keep Nestor in his normal slot in his rotation. So I was like, you're telling me on opening day when everybody's gonna throw out their aces, you're gonna go in a bullpen game? Like what a terrible way to start the season. And then you're gonna get them all worn out. I mean, that's like the last thing you want to do is wear out your bullpen. So I'm glad that they came to their senses and actually put in a starting pitcher there. But yeah, Yankee fans, we just got to tread water. That's all we got to do. We got to tread water for like 2 months and then make a push. And we just got to get into that wild card now. That's really, I don't even worry about the division anymore, honestly, because we've seen teams like the Diamondbacks, the Phillies make these runs, right? And they're beating the team that has rest that was dominant in the regular season. So we just got to get in. We just got to get in the dance and we take it from there because we have Gerrit Cole, we have Juan Soto, we have Aaron Judge, we have star power. So we just gotta tread water. But I'm excited for baseball, man. It's been too long. I had a horrible season last year, so I'm ready. I'm ready for the Juan Soto era to begin and possibly end after 1 year.
Well, hopefully for you, it doesn't last just 1 year. But NL West, Matt, it's loading up even more. I didn't think it could get even more loaded. Yeah, I misspoke earlier. Sorry. Dylan Cease over to the Padres. And now today, Blake Snell officially signing with the Giants. 2 years, 62 million. Man, it is gonna be a bloodbath out in the NL West, Matt. Giants, a lot of free agency signings. I liked their offseason. I thought, they did a pretty good job addressing a lot of their needs. The Padres, I mean, lineup wise, one of the best on paper, top to bottom. I think you could. It's hard to argue that. And now you add Dylan Cease into that pitching rotation. They're tooling up to go head to head with the Dodgers, right? So it's gonna be tough, I think. Even with Shohei, with Yamamoto, with Glass now, can't take anything for granted. And we obviously can't sleep on Arizona, who made the World Series last year. They're young, they're hungry now because they got a taste of success. I think they're only going to get better. I like what Torey Lovello did with them last season, and I only expect them to be better as well. So yeah, it's going to be a real scary race, knowing that one of those teams um, probably won't end up making the playoffs with how everything's set up, right? So hopefully it's not my Dodgers. If Dodgers don't make the playoffs,
Oh,
it's the
Dave
biggest
Roberts
choke
better be
job. Yeah,
fired.
he's gone. I think 100%. So I'm not even gonna think about that. But
Well, let
um,
me ask you this: which signing are you more scared of, the Blake Snell one or the Dylan Cease one? Both of them potential aces. Obviously,
yeah,
Snell is a Cy Young, so
it
which one do
it's
you fear?
it's tough. I think I will say I fear Blake Snell a little bit more just because it's the Giants. Okay, I know the Padres, they beat us in the wild card round a couple years ago, right? But I don't know. Just not I still don't fear that, like the Giants, they haunt me because of the three World Series that they had with Buster, right? So that's always going to kind of play in my mind. They're a good organization. They're always, well run. So maybe it's that just kind of scares me a little bit more. Plus, knowing what Blake Snell did to the Dodgers in the World Series when they did play them, in the when he was on the Rays, absolutely shut them down. So he kind of knows how to pitch at Mookie and some of those guys, Will Smith, right? It is a little bit scary, I would say, especially with the Giants, pitching rotation now. I think it's shaping up to be pretty solid, you could say. So a
I
little bit more
agree.
scared about that. Cease, I do like his stuff a lot. But coming off a little bit of a tougher year for him last year, the Snell one, yeah, it scares me a little bit more. I mean, Blake Snell's coming off of a Cy Young, right? So how is that not a little bit more
Yeah.
scary
And then
to
I
have
think
to face
Logan Webb was second or third in Cy
Mhm.
Young voting, so that's your 1-2 punch. I believe they have Robbie Ray. They signed
Robbie
him. He won
Ray?
a Cy Young a couple years ago in the AL. So
And they had another all-star pitcher in oh man, I'm
a
forgetting his
starter.
name.
Well, they signed Jordan Hicks
Uh
too.
yeah,
You're blanking.
yeah,
But they
I'm
got
blank.
they got a lot of guys, man. Young Ho Lee, Matt
Yeah,
Chapman. Man, they're really going for the guys that, the Scott Boras clients that are asking for too much and then they get them on a bargain. So
yeah.
hey,
Oh,
that's
Alex Cobb. Alex
good
Cobb.
business right there.
I think he was an all-star last year, or he's coming off of one of his better seasons, I think.
He's like, he's not a big name guy, but he's mighty consistent. He's been in the league for a while now, and you know what you're gonna get with him. So solid middle to back end of the rotation guy, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah, scary things coming out of the NL West. We'll see how it goes, Matt. Um, but moving on here to the Korea series, because we have baseball on Wednesday already. It is exciting that baseball
Showtime.
is back. Uh, I believe the first game, it's going to be highlighted between Glass. Now for us, I don't. Was it Musgrove that's going to start for them?
I think
Um,
Musgrove is day two, so I think you guys get Darvish first game.
oh,
Darvish and
Darvish,
Musgrove.
Darvish, yeah, yeah. So Darvish versus Glass now two. aces with nasty stuff against two of probably the top, I don't know, five or six lineups, top to bottom in the league, you could say, hitting wise. Interesting. I think the series will kind of show. Well, first of all, it's great to have baseball in another country. I think to start the year, that's pretty exciting. Get the global awareness out there, the impact. It's just going up every year. So great that the MLB is doing this in Korea. But getting to the game series itself, Matt, you want to beat the Padres, right? It's kind of just how it is, no matter if you play in California or in Korea. I don't think the narrative is going to change there. It'll be a good matchup, but I'm confident that the Dodgers will can and should come out of this series with a win. So I know Hassan Kim is from there. I still am taking the Dodgers. Uh, but I think it'll be a good test because I think the defense is going to be tested, and we'll see how Gavin Lux, Mookie Betts, and Max Muncy plays. Max has been playing a little bit better as of late. I think Gavin Lux and Mookie also getting a little bit more accustomed to their new positions. But yeah, Matt, I think it's going to be fun because we got two of the top lineups in the league to kick us off in Korea. So I would say just kind of looking ahead a little bit to the Dodgers. Um, the Japanese duel, I think that's what everyone's kind of looking for. I mean, I'm looking at Shohei to have a great year. I mean, used him as my first pick, right, in fantasy. So, uh,
And you pick Yamamoto too.
and I picked Yamamoto, so really going heavy on the Dodgers. I think Yamamoto, he's going to take a little bit. I don't know how long, but spring training was any indication. These are professional hitters in the best league in the world now. So it's going to take some time. But his stuff, you just look at his stuff and you can see it. He has the potential to be a great pitcher in this league. Only 25 years old, Matt. Um, I think that once he kind of settles in and figures out, realizes I can't just throw my stuff and get away with it. I have to he has to execute every single pitch. It'll be, he'll be fine eventually. And Shohei, I'm looking for him to have a great year with the bat. I don't think he can win MVP unless he does something miraculous like what Judge did several years ago. But I mean, with Mookie and Freddie, kind of hard to win an MVP on that team. But I'm looking honestly at 40 plus home runs, 100 plus RBIs, 25 plus stolen bases from him. So I'm expecting a lot production wise. If he could hit, I don't know if he'll hit 300 again, but if he hits around 300, that's just another plus. His OPS is probably going to be around 9. Um, so that I'm expecting great things from him offensively, especially, without the wear and tear of pitching during the regular season. I'm hoping for career year with him at the plate. So yeah,
Yeah.
excited
Well,
there.
I think it's gonna be a good series. I mean, the Padres you mentioned, right? The whole Gavin Lux, Mookie Betts thing. Padres are doing the same thing. I mean, they had Bogarts at short. They're moving him to second. Hasa Kim is going to short now, so they swap middles, but I think they're a little better defensively on paper. Hassan Kim won a Gold Glove too at second base, so or I believe he won shortstop maybe. I don't know. He won a Gold Glove though, but they're going through some changes there. And even their lineup too, like very right-handed centric. I saw a mock lineup where it was like they could potentially roll out Jake Cronenworth as your third batter. Love Jake Cronenworth. I love what he brings to the table, but I don't think he's a third batter on a team that has championship expectations. And it's like he's sandwiched between Tatis and Machado. That's your two best hitters on the team. And I know they want to do the, lefty righty, yada yada yada, but I don't know. When I look at that lineup, it's like that's a huge hole for me to kind of pitch around because you can pitch around Tatis, you can almost pitch around Machado too because you can set up a double play, do things around that spot. So I think the Padres maybe just say F it, we'll bat Tatis, Machado back to back. I mean, the Dodgers are doing that, right? They don't care about the lefty righty thing too much. If they got Shohei and Freddie batting back to back, I don't see what the problem is there. That's your two best hitters. You want them to bat as many times as possible. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, the first two games, how the Padres kind of divvy up that lineup. But I'll ask you this, as you're the Dodgers fan, Yankees don't play till March 28th, like the rest of the league. Do you think you can be psychic and predict your starting nine?
Yeah, I mean, real easy 1 through 4. Gonna go Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, or Mookie, Freddie, Shohei in one of those orders. Then obviously you got to go Will Smith at the catcher position. Um, I think you stick with Max at the 5. Your the average isn't gonna be there, but uh, looking forward to him bringing the pop there out of third base. Um, then it gets a little tricky, right? Got a lot of outfielders, not a lot of places to put them. I think Gavin Lux, though, let me just say, he'll round out the infield. I think he will start at second base because he has been hitting pretty well this spring. So I think we're gonna need his bat there. Just hopefully his defense can catch up. The outfield, ideally, I think you're gonna have to go with Outman. Hopefully he can build off his year. Um, I think if it's a righty, you're gonna see Jason Hayward in the lineup, and you're gonna see Teoscar Hernandez in the lineup. But Chris Taylor had a home run today, so hoping for good things from him because I think him and Kike as well will be there. So I'll just say I think on opening day I'll go Outman, Hayward, Hernandez. Um, if it was a lefty, I would switch Chris Taylor and Jason Hayward, but just knowing it's a lefty, that's what I'm gonna go with. So we'll see how it goes, Matt.
Okay. We'll see if Dave Roberts has the same idea as you.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. He might. Sometimes my dad, he's a Dodgers fan, so he hates when Dave Roberts gets a little too analytical, and he's like, "Just play the freaking best 9 guys. Like you're the Dodgers. Like you have the best guys. Don't overthink it." So we'll see how Dave does it. Because I mean, I see a lot of things that he does sometimes. Just watching the Dodgers a lot, he does get a little quirky sometimes with his lineup. So hopefully, he just keeps it very simple because they have a lot of talent on paper.
yeah. Um, but yeah, Matt, we'll see how it goes. Excited for baseball to start again. So, okay.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
it was a long pod. We had a lot to talk about. So let's wrap up with our usuals, Matt. Foolish Fool. Who's our Foolish Fool of the week?
Ooh, our foolish fool, I guess you could say, is the Lakers, or I'll say crypto.com's shot clock operator, because what the heck was going
That was
on
embarrassing.
in that game? Like I just ruined the game. Even the celebrities, Kim Kardashian, they showed a clip of her. She was like, "What the hell is going on?" So it's like everyone is just baffled. I don't think we've ever seen it, and I think that they were even announcing like how much time they had on the shot clock too for a couple possessions. So it was like, man, I've never seen anything like that. So come on, Lakers, you guys got a lot of money. You guys got to be able to handle a shot clock operator better than that. So that's
Yeah.
my foolish fool, the Lakers. Sorry.
Okay. No, that was embarrassing. I was getting like secondhand embarrassment watching that thing. So Yeah, State of the 808, I wanted to talk about Hawaii. Fortunately, nothing really to talk about there. So we'll pass it for this week, Matt. But why don't you run us out with our sports fact of the
All
day?
right. We're recording on March 18th, and we'll go back to 1995, where some people might call him the GOAT of basketball, maybe of sports. Michael Jordan announced that he was ending his 17-month hiatus from the NBA, and he initially or officially announced his return to basketball on this day, March 18th, the day Jordan came back in the papers, and he said, "I'm back."
Yeah.
Very short and sweet.
Mm-hmm. All right, Matt. Well, sounds good. Yeah, it was a long pod. Had a lot to talk about, but we'll be back next week with even more, I'm sure, with March Madness kicking off. So we'll keep everyone updated there. Until then, everyone have a good week as usual. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next week.